watch this. I don't know if you'll get any value out of this, but I'm just going to try this experiment. Okay, so I want to implement the remove method, right? First off, some comments on some of the code. There were some people that didn't return anything. There's no return statement at the end, so you need to return the old value or the removed value. And then, in general, the answer to the big O, some people got it wrong. What is the possible answers for the big O of remove? One is an answer that is not correct, and N. And then we'll talk more about that. So first off, what I like to do is do defensive programming, so I check the parameters that I can. So if index is less than 0, or index is greater than size, right? What if index is size? Can I remove the thing at size? No, so this should be greater than or equal to size. I want to throw a new index out of bounds. Oops. So now I know that the index is a valid index. So I want to remove the thing at index. So I want to remember that. I've seen lots of variables. Return value equals data sub index. And then I want to return that, right? But now I need to get it out of my list. I need to remove it from the list. So some people just set it to null, but that leaves a gap in my list. Because if I go ask for what whatever index thing again, I'm going to get null. But the list shifts. It is dynamic. So I want to overwrite things. So I want to say for int I equals index I is less than. Now, should I use data.length or size? Size. I plus plus. So I want to copy the thing to the right of them over to the left, right? So I want to go from I plus 1 and put it into I. And that will overwrite the value, because I've removed the thing at index, and that's why I'm starting at index. So I say data sub I is equal to data sub I plus 1. So I'm taking the thing on the right and moving it into the thing on the left. I'm copying over. I have destroyed what was at I. But I've removed it, so it's okay that I destroyed it. Now, you could do it the other way, where you say I equals index plus 1, and then you take I minus 1. But the bigger one should be on the right-hand side of the equal, right? Because I'm overwriting from the larger item into the smaller item, the left one. And then, yes, decrement size, exactly. Because I've removed something, the size is smaller. So size minus minus. And I claim I'm done. I've got this correct size now. I returned the value that was there. I've shifted things over so there's no gaps. Is that a question or just stretching? Okay. Now, what's the big O of this thing? It's N because I have a for loop that potentially goes from 0 to size, which is N. So because I have a for loop that goes to the size or the length, it's N, big O of N. Yes?
loop since it checks when I is less than size, but it's not, if I is size minus 1.
Then you have it equal.
Data at size minus 1. And then it tries to data at size, but then size might be out of the range of the data, right?
Well, size, the thing at data sub size is not in the list. Right? Because the list it goes from 0 to size minus 1. So the thing at data size is not in the list.
You don't try to set
that side of the list with that null space, right?
I don't have to do anything to that. I don't have to.
That's when you have an array that's 5 spots. You take one out. You need to take something also from the 6th spot and wipe out the 5th spot, right? So that way this actually does.
Well, it doesn't. I don't care about what's at the. If I've got something in data sub size, I don't care. I don't have to set it to null.
Okay.
Because like when I was doing the add at the end, we overwrite what is at data sub size. So I don't have to clean up after myself because I only look at the stuff from 0 to size minus 1. So if there's stuff in the array beyond there, I don't care. Because I'm going to blow it, right? So I'm going to overwrite it if I do any insertions. So it could be full or it could be empty. It doesn't matter.
The size, you don't count that when you go and do some analysis of the array.
Analysis of the array.
Like if you were to go and do some type of sorting thing because it only counts up the size.
Right, so when you do a sort, you only sort from 0 to size minus 1. You don't look at anything beyond that because it's junk, it's garbage, it's not in the list, right? We're only sorting the list. Okay, so let's save that. So now I want to talk about briefly, maybe not so briefly, but briefly, how I would test this class. So one of the ways we can test this class, I'm going to actually create a new class called myArrayList test. And I'm going to have a main, because that's what's going to test my class. So how I don't care about the arguments right now, so I'm not going to use them. So how do I test my array list? So I need to create one list, and I want to work on strings. Test equals new I. Okay, so I'm trying to create a new one. Now, that's going to cause a problem. Why do I say that's going to cause a problem? I don't have a constructor to build one of these things. So what's it going to do? The default is Java gives me a default constructor that does nothing. I need to initialize my data array and size. They don't get initialized in the default constructor, so I need to create a constructor factor type. So what do I need to do? I need to say data equals, I have to cast new object. How many do I want? Not 1,000,000, that's a waste of space. 10's a good number. Let's pick 16 because we're hexadecimal. And notice the yellow squiggly. I have a cast of an object to E, and it's going to say that's not good style. It's unchecked. So that's my check style is telling me this. This is this additional thing. It's okay. And so I also need to initialize the size. How big is my list when I create this one? 0. So size is 0. And what else is wrong? There's no Java doc. That way. Save. Okay, so now back into this, I can now see if this works. So what do I say? If test.size is not equal to 0, system.error print line problem with constructor. Right? So that this is just a simple test. I can put the semicolon in the right place. And see if that works. Save it. I want to run it. And it ran, and it passes. Does that make sense? Should it pass? I didn't implement the size method. Eclipse did, right? I haven't filled it in. So it shouldn't, well, actually it should pass, because if we go look at the size method, by default, Eclipse will stick in return 0. So it's just a happy circumstance that this passes. Well, let's try test.add foo. Copy that. Not equal. Should be 1, right? And we run again. Problem with add. Save it. Run. And so now I've got a problem with add, right? Do I have a problem with my add method? I don't have a problem with my add method because I have a problem with my size method. So I want to return the size. Save it. Run it. And I have no problem. So now I want to actually see that foo got stuck at the end, which is 0, right? So if foo, if, say not, foo dot equals what? Test dot get, and where am I going to, what's the index that foo should be at? 0, so choose 0. Problem in get or add, right? Because we don't really know where the problem is. We just know that we didn't get the right thing back. And we run, and what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to get, is it going to print out a message, or is it going to work correctly? I guess. There's a problem with either get or add, right? Well, let's look at the get method. It doesn't do anything. So let's implement the get method. So check 0 or index is greater than or equal to size. Now, do I have to do this? Do I really need to do this? Just curious. I don't have to do it because when I go here and say data sub index, that will throw an index out of bounds exception if there's a problem. So I'm just being redundant, but that's because I like to make sure that the parameters I'm using are valid before I start using them. It's just defensive programming. So you don't have to do it. Save it. We rerun it. And now we see that the thing we stuck in the list gets returned when we ask for it. So now let's test.remove 0. And then we say but now it's not. We don't want it to be equal, right? If we get foo back, it's not working. But what will happen when I do this get on 0? Not quite. Well, no, when I do a get on 0, when the size is 0, what should happen? I should have an exception thrown, an index out of bounds exception. So my if statement's not going to execute. Well, it will, but then I'll get an exception, or I should. Let's see if I'm telling the truth. Okay, I gotta save it. I got my exception, because I don't have anything and that index is not valid. So how do I fix that? Say, I can put it in a try catch block. So this is good, right? I want to see that. So, good. And so I could keep going on by adding a second thing and a third thing and a fourth thing and testing the size or testing the get. I should also, if I was testing this array list, I should test all the methods. Like I've done add, but I haven't done added an index. I should do an added an index. I should test the set method, which I haven't done. So I can go and test all my methods doing it this way. So that's one way to test your class. Any questions? So is there going to be any problem with doing this by Friday?
If you print the stack trace in the dashboard, what does that mean?
Oh, you want me to print stack trace? So let's run this. And I catch the stack, the exception, and I continue on my merry way. So let's say IOOB.print stack trace. That is going to show me where the exception occurred. So it's saying that it started in main, but then it was caused by the get method. So the get method is what threw the exception on line 73. And so I can click this link Guess what? It shows me exactly where the exception occurred. I could click it on here that says, what was the call that caused that? And so you can get a stack trace that shows exactly which method was called, how it got there. Eventually, you get the line of code that causes the exception. Very nice way of finding out where you're having problems. You get the message if I supplied a message. Since I don't supply a message, so if I supplied a message, see, here's my message. It gets appended to the end of where the stack, the type of the thing. So the get message just gives you that string, which hopefully is meaningful. But as you saw with the default, when I throw one and I don't have a string, well, the string's going to be empty, so it's not meaningful. Questions? That's all I got. Thank you very much.